Hello students. So today we shall continue with the stability analysis of the tall structures. So in the previous we had seen the iterative methods, the iterative analysis, and now we shall see is the direct P delta analysis. So now in this direct P delta analysis, what is done is we consider the reflected shape and we consider the increments in the shear here. So the previous method, that is the iterative analysis, which is used for the rigid frame structure, wherein the first order analysis plus a direct second order adjustment is made. You will be having the first order analysis and then you do the direct second order adjustment for that. So from the first order analysis, wherein only the horizontal loading are acting, the shear stiffness in a particular story I of that rigid structure will be given as K, capital K, which is representing the shear stiffness, SI, I is the story in the particular story where it is there, is equal to the Qi upon small delta I, that is the increment. So Qi is the shear which is acting, the horizontal shear force we can see the acting there, and delta I is the increment there. So this is considered for the first order wherein only the horizontal loading is considered. So shear stiffness is KSI is equal to Qi upon delta I, small delta I. So the P delta effect at the final deflected state, it is represented by initial external shear, that is Qi, and the increment in the that is the shear value, that is delta Qi. Okay, so that is P delta effect we consider later. This is only when the horizontal load is acting, and when we consider the P delta effect at the deflected state, wherein it will be having initial, that is external shear acting is Qi at the particular story I, and the increment, so due to that there is an increment in the shear, that is delta Qi. So the total shear which is acting will be equal to Qi in the particular story is equal to Qi plus delta Qi, the small delta, that is the initial plus the increment in the shear. So this increment in the shear, that is delta Qi, we have seen in the previous slide, that is here delta Qi is equal to Pi into small delta I upon Hi. That was as given in the iterative P delta analysis. When we go for the iterative analysis, we had seen the increment delta Qi, that is the increment in the shear, is nothing but Pi small delta I upon Hi. That is from this here. So what we do is, in place of this delta Qi, we substitute that value, that is Pi delta I star upon Hi. Okay, wherein this delta I star is the final drift in the story I. This is nothing but the final drift which is taking place in the particular story I here, and here it will be including the P delta effect. So now when you solve this equation, it is given as this delta I star I, that is here this equation which is there, I will take the delta I star on the other side, so it will be nothing but Qi upon Ksi, which is shown here. So delta I star is will be equal to Qi star upon Ksi. So this Qi star I'll substitute with this equation. Okay, so what will be the equation obtained is delta I star, which is the final drift in the story I, will be equal to Qi plus this Pi delta I star upon Hi divided by Ksi. That is, I am substituting this Qi value here. This Qi value I have substituted upon Ksi. Later, this Ksi which is there, I will substitute back as Qi upon delta I. So, you will see here in the next slide, delta I star is equal to Qi plus Pi delta I star upon Hi divided by the whole equation divided by Qi upon delta I. This, what is Qi upon delta I is this? There we have substituted the value of Ksi. Okay, this is divided by Ksi. So in place of Ksi, I will be writing there Qi upon delta I. Okay, so now after rearranging these terms, you will be getting a final equation. That is a final story drift you will be getting. That is, small delta I star will be equal to 1 the whole divided by 1 minus Pi delta I upon Qi Hi, and this whole equation is multiplied by delta I. Okay, this is after arranging these terms, you will be getting the final equation. So this will be the resulting drift in the story I, particular story I, which is having the P delta effect. There is a second order effects here. So now if you want the total drift which is taking place in the n floor, n number of floors, which is having the P delta effect, which will be equal to capital delta I star will be equal to summation of all the floors from I is equal to 1 to I is equal to n of delta I star. Okay, this delta I star summation of all the floors, you will be getting what is the P delta effect in this structure. So the increase in the first order drift I due to the P delta effect is non-linear function of gravity loading. So first order effect wherein the P delta effect is not considered. So it is a non-linear function of the gravity loading Pi. Then the increased moments, if you want to find out the increased moments, it will be given as Mi star, same as delta. Mi star is equal to 1 upon 1 minus Pi delta I divided by Qi Hi multiplied by Mi. Okay. So this will be giving you the what is the movements which is caused due to the P delta effect. Then this is not applicable to the structures which differ mainly in the flexures which include the shear walls. So this is the other method of analysis, that is a direct P delta analysis here. The next we have is simultaneous first order and the P delta analysis. Now in this method, okay, the second order effects, they are accounted by modifying the structural model. Now here when we want to do the analysis in this method, what we do is if you want to find out what is the second order effect, we modify the structural model here. Okay, whatever model is there, the rigid frame, whatever, there certain modification is done and then the analysis is carried out. So it is explained here. In this method for the P delta analysis of the structure, the second order effects are accounted for by modifying the structural model so that when analyzed for actual horizontal loading, the resulting values of the drifts and the member forces will have the P delta effects. Right? Then a single computer run is made, the analysis of the structure is carried out and include the P delta effects. Okay, the computer analysis is done to analyze the structure and include the P delta effects. Then the modification to the structural model will either consist of, that is, it will be consisting of fictitious column. What modification we do to the model is we add a fictitious model, that is a fictitious column to the model, and then this will cause the horizontal displacement in terms of first order stiffness matrix. So here you will be having a matrix. Okay, in the matrix form, here we will be solving the, and our here we will be doing the analysis part here. So here the first that is a horizontal displacement, that is a delta, it will be in the first order stiffness matrix, and they will be automatically augmented, increased by including the effects of the gravity loading, which wherein the lateral displacements will take place. So the first order stiffness matrix will be converted automatically to the second order matrix. First order will have only the horizontal displacements, and then when you include the P delta effect, it gets augmented, increased as the gravity loading will be there and the displacements, lateral displacement. So the first order stiffness matrix will get converted to second order matrix here. So now how the matrix is developed, we'll see here. Development of the second order matrix. So the increment of the horizontal load at a particular level I, story I, is equivalent in effect to gravity loading, okay, as given by. So in the previous we had seen this. In the previous that is iterative P delta analysis, we had seen here delta H, that is the increment in the horizontal load. Okay, this horizontal load H increment delta Hi is equal to delta Qi up minus delta Qi plus 1, right? So above that what we had got is what is delta Qi. Okay, what is delta Qi? This delta Qi is nothing but Pi upon Hi upon delta I minus delta of I minus 1. So this wherein we refer the figure here. So this is the level here. Okay, I. So this is level 1, level I plus 1, level I minus 1, level I minus 2 heights. Okay, and then we have here is delta QI. So here is a shear force is shown in this direction, that is delta QI is shown here, and this is delta QI shown in this direction, balancing it. Then here delta of QI minus 1, delta of QI minus 1, delta of QI plus 1 in this direction, delta QI plus 1 in this direction. So now when you want to write what is delta QI, that is this delta QI, what is the value? It is written as Pi upon Hi into delta I. Okay, this delta I is the total displacement here, lateral displacement. This is delta I minus of delta I minus 1. So this value minus this value, whatever is the difference here, that is the delta taking place. So delta Qi is nothing but Pi upon Hi into this delta I minus of delta I minus 1, right? This is for the delta Qi. Now suppose when you want to find out what is the value for delta Qi plus 1, if you want to find out what is the value for delta Qi plus 1, that is here, it will be equal to P of I plus 1 divided by H of I plus 1, and it is and this will be delta of I plus 1 minus delta I. Okay, so if you want to find out what is delta Q of I plus 1, it is nothing but this delta, that is Pi plus 1 Hi plus 1, that is replacing I as I plus 1, and delta here it will be delta of I plus 1 minus delta of I. Okay, that is here you will be getting. So when you solve this equation here, delta H, that is as you have seen here in this, when you substitute here delta Hi is equal to delta Qi minus delta of Qi plus 1. So when you substitute Qi this value and Q of I plus 1 is Pi plus 1, Hi plus 1 and delta I plus 1 minus delta I, you will be getting this equation. Okay, when you simplify, you get this equation. So it is where the equation is delta Hi is equal to minus Pi delta of I minus 1 upon Hi plus Pi upon Hi plus P of I plus 1 upon H of I plus 1 the whole into delta I minus P of I plus 1 delta I plus 1 divided by H of I plus 1. This equation you will be getting as the increment of the horizontal load, right? So the set of equations, that is, we write it in the matrix form. So now this equation which is there, we'll write in the matrix form, wherein it will be including will be delta H, P by H and the capital delta I. So you can see here in this. So as in the matrix form, when you consider for all the stories, okay, this was only for the I story. When you consider for the n number of s number of stories, it will be written in this format. So this is a matrix wherein the increment in the horizontal load is there, that is delta H1, delta H2, delta H3 and so on up to delta I, then again up to delta S they have given. Then this is equal to, so this equal to, okay, then arranging ph sorry, p1 h1 terms in one, that is matrix here. So it is p1 h1 plus p2 h2 minus of p2 h2. So this all values it will be clubbed and produced in this one matrix here, and into this delta. Okay, this drift which is there, this delta, it will be produced in 1. There is lateral displacement. So delta 1 star, delta 2 star, delta 3 star, delta I star and delta S star. So they have just mentioned it as S here. Okay, so this will be produced in the matrix form, wherein here it will be the horizontal load increment. Then these are the P by H, that is which will be including the gravity loadings. There is a P delta effect, and these are the lateral displacements. So in a simplified, it is written like this. That is the flower bracket matrix of delta H, increment of the horizontal loads, K into G. Okay, so this whole matrix which is there here, okay, P by H matrix which is there, it is represented as Kg. So Kg is nothing but it is the stiffness matrix, okay, which is square. It is a square matrix. It is tridiagonal. Only diagonal elements are present here. So it is a tridiagonal, symmetric about the leading diagonal. So it is symmetrical and it is a tridiagonal square matrix, which is also called as the geometric stiffness matrix, and which will be having the gravity loading. So you're seeing that P value is present here. And this is nothing but the lateral displacement matrix, which is a vector quantity. So this is the simplified equation we can write for this matrix here. So now when the building stiffness matrix corresponds to horizontal displacement of floor levels. So when this displacement we consider for the floor levels, we write it as H1, H2, H3 up to Hi, then again Hn, n number of floors. So this K value which is there, it will be written as K11, K12, K21, K22, K23 as it is in the second row here. Then 0, K32, K33, K34. So go on as it is. Then Ki, we write it as I here, and N. So these are again the delta, that is the displacements. Delta 1, delta 2, delta 3 up to delta N. So again this simplified will be written as H is equal to K into delta. But it is not just K into delta, it is matrix K into matrix delta. So now these are the two equations that will be in the matrix forms. Now the P delta effects of the gravity loading, as we said, can be represented by adding an equivalent increment of horizontal load to the actual loading. So now this is the horizontal load which is there. Okay, when you add further, what happens is when the further loading is added, there will be increment again in the horizontal load. So that increment is represented as delta H. So it will be added to the original horizontal loading. So it is H, that is a matrix H plus matrix delta H is equal to K into delta star. So this how we got is just adding the increment delta H. This is H is equal to K into delta. So for this original, we add the increment value, that is H plus H delta. Now H delta equation is what? Kg into delta star. So again substitute the value of delta H here. You will be getting matrix H plus matrix of Kg matrix delta star is equal to matrix K and matrix delta star. So when you rearrange this term, you will be getting the horizontal loading, that is the horizontal loading matrix H is equal to K minus Kg into delta star. Okay, so this is the equation you will be getting. That is a matrix of actual horizontal loading. That is a matrix of actual horizontal loading will be equal to matrix of K minus Kg into matrix of delta star. Right? So this K minus Kg, you know what is K and what is Kg here. You know here. This is Kg value here. Okay, sorry, this is Kg, that is P1 H1 plus P2 H2. These are the values K11, K12. These are the K values. So K minus Kg. So when you substitute here the values of Kg, you will be getting these terms. Okay. So this matrix is nothing but they have substituted this Kg value, that is in the previous slide we had seen. Kg value is this, right? We have substituted this matrix as Kg. So when you say K11, so in place of K11 what you have here is P1 H1 plus P2 H2. So when you do K minus Kg, it will be K11 minus the whole bracket P1 H1 plus P2 H2. Same way, K12 minus of, so minus minus plus, so it will be P2 H2. Here it is K12 plus P2 H2. So like that we write this. Just we have just it is shown for the first three rows of the matrix. So this is just for the study that how it is to be done. Then next, now as we know that we to follow this, that is analysis procedure, we do some modification to the structural model. So what is it modification we do is either we add, that is a simple and convenient way of modifying the first order stiffness matrix is either adding to the structure a fixtures, okay, a fixtures, and throughout the height a column which is having either a negative shear area or a negative inertia. Okay, there are two methods here. Either it is negative shear area column we add, or it is the negative inertia. Okay, that is a negative flexural stiffness column we add. So that we will see here. So when we are considering a simple and convenient way for the first order analysis, either that is we add a fictitious column. So you can see a fictitious column is added. Now first case we'll consider is either a negative shear. So a negative shear area column is added. So when you add that negative shear area column, this is the frame structure, that is the where fictitious column is added, and then these are connected by the links. So it is shown in this way here. This is A1, A2, A3, A4. These are the shear areas. Now what we consider is, we consider a unit displacement at this at the second floor, at the second level. We consider unit horizontal displacement. Then that is GA2 upon H2. Then GA2 plus H2, GA2 divided by H2 plus GA3 H3, and GA3 minus GA3 H3. These are the minus values, these are the positive values. So it is in this direction. So a wall frame structure with added fictitious shear column is there, and the column which is having here, the column will have infinite flexural rigidity. Okay, the flexural rigidity will be infinite and it will be deformable in shear. So the terms of the second column, that is the second column, in this, when you consider the stiffness matrix, okay, when I'll show you the stiffness matrix, the second column, the fictitious shear column will be added there, and there will be unit displacement as shown here at the level 2. So here what happens, K12 is equal to minus GA2 upon H2. So when you consider K12, it is minus GA2 upon H2 at this floor. Then K22 will be equal to, at this it will be GA2 upon H2 plus GA3 upon H3. And here K, it is at the second, it is at the second node floor there. So it is K32 is equal to minus GA3 upon H3. So now what we do is, the increments of stiffness which are required to convert the first order to second order stiffness matrix, we will be having is K12, that is in the previous slide we have K12 is equal to, that is my here in the stiffness matrix, as it is said in the second row of the stiffness matrix, it changes. So K12 will be equal to, here you can see K12. So K12, it is plus P2 upon H2. So this, when we equate it to unit there, what we write is K12 is equal to P2 H2. Same K12 is equal to K12 is equal to P2 H2 from the first order analysis. Then K22, which is equal to minus P2 upon H2 plus P3 upon H3. So we write here K22 is equal to minus P2 upon H2 plus P3 upon H3. Then K32 here is equal to P3 by H3. So this P3 by H3. Now these two equations we equated because it is the same, K11, K12, K22, K23. So this we equated, and you will be getting the equation as GA2 minus GA2 upon H2 is equal to P2 upon H2, where the shear area A2 will be equal to, this area A2 will be equal to minus P2 upon G. Same way, equating this to this value, you will be getting A3 is equal to minus P3 upon G. So this, in generalized, we write it as Pi is equal to minus Pi upon G. So the stiffness matrix will be modified if the fictitious column is assigned the, in each level, a shear area, an infinite and extremely large flexural rigidity. So Pi will be nothing but the total axial force of the volumes, that is the walls and the columns, and G will be the shear modulus that is assigned to that fictitious column. This is only when we that is have the fictitious column which is having the shear area there. So this is the that is, we use the formula here. Now next is that when we consider a fictitious column wherein a negative member properties but does not have the shear area, we do not have the shear area option, but wherein we can have the negative inertia column will be placed. So in here Okay, instead of the shear area, you will be having the negative shear area column, wherein the floor level nodes, these nodes, they will be constrained, that will restrained against the rotation. Rotation will be not allowed for this. So as shown in the figure, here also at level 2, you will be having a unit horizontal displacement. So same way, in this case, you will be having K12 will be equal to, at this, minus 12 EI2 upon H2 cube. Okay, so it is inertia. So H cube it is. PD cube, but how we take like that. So it is inertia column with the floor levels. Okay, at each one inertia, negative inertia columns. So at K22, at the second floor level, it will be 12 EI2 upon H2 cube plus 12 EI3 upon H3 cube. And at the K32, it will be minus 12 EI cube upon H3 cube. Now same way, we equated with the first order analysis equations. As in the previous we had seen, K12 is nothing but P2H2, K22 is this value and K33 is this value. So again we equated both. So you will be getting here, you will be getting the inertia, that is I value. In the previous one we had got the shear area value. In this we will be getting is the I value, that is the inertia of the columns here. So here you will be getting as the I2 is equal to minus P2 H2 cube upon 12E, and I3 is equal to minus P3 H3 cube upon 12E. So in general, when we write, it will be equal to inertia of the fixtures column will be equal to value I, capital I of the I story is equal to minus Pi Hi square upon 12E. Okay. So negative inertia column will be attached to the original model of the structure at each floor, either by the that is connections, rigid links, or either by the horizontal constraints. The effect of this horizontal, that is a rigid horizontal arm, which represent the restraint on the fixtures column against the rotation of the floor. So rotation is, as we have seen, the rotation is restricted there at each node there, right? So these are the two methods which we can use, either by shear area or by the negative inertia column which we use. The next we shall see is the translation and the torsional. So in the previous, whatever we have seen will be for the only the translational, that is the displacement is there, horizontal displacement. Now if we have the torsional effect, that is the building is getting twisted. So how is to be done? So that time we need to include the term that is a torsion. J value is to be included. So we shall see here the second order methods of the P delta analysis, it is concerned only with translation. That is, we have seen in the previous, was only the translational effects. If it is unsymmetrical building, and combined translation and the torsional P delta effects are possible. If it is unsymmetrical, it is the translation as well as the torsional twisting of the building will take place. And this can be analyzed directly and accurately as combined first and the second order analysis. Okay, by adding a fictitious negative transverse and the torsional properties. So here what we do is we add a fictitious column which is having the negative transverse and the torsional properties, and each story will be increased or augmented by fictitious column which will be added with negative shear areas in two directions, that is a translation, and a negative torsion constant will be added. So each floor will have, where the fictitious column is added, you'll be having the two negative shear areas in two directions of translation and a torsional constant, negative torsional constant there. Then the shear areas, they will be function of gravity loading. So we have seen in the previous how we consider shear area for translation is we find out. Now here it is considered in the capital X and capital Y direction, that is shown here. It is this capital X direction and this is the capital Y direction. So what is given here? If it is area of Ix, I story in the X direction, and A in the shear area, I story in the Y direction, is equal to minus Pi upon G. This we have seen here in the previous when we consider is the negative shear area column. So we get AI is equal to minus Pi upon J. So same thing we apply here when it is in the X and the Y direction. Then suppose when we do for the computer analysis, it does not allow for the assignment of the shear area. Then a negative inertia column we can add wherein the that is rotations are restrained. Vertical plane rotations may be used and they are restrained, and it can be used as this previous one, Ix formula. We use the Ix, that is pi hi square upon 12e, that is in the x and the y directions. Okay, we can follow this method here. As we have said, we'll be having two shear areas in the translation. Now to find out the torsional constant. Then the Fixus column is located at the centroid of the total gravity loading above the story I, and the negative torsion constant will be represented as Ji. So it is present at the centroid. Okay, this is the at the centroid of the total loading. A single full value Fixus column will be placed at the center of the total gravity loading above the story I. That is this black dot which is shown here. It is present here. Okay. So then the torsional constant Gi will be found out by 1 upon Hi into summation of Pij into d square d square Yij plus d square Xij is equal to 1 upon Hi Pi square, which is again equal to minus G into Ji upon Hi. So now these values I and J are P of ij, which we have shown here, it is nothing but the gravity load which is acting for the wall or the column of J. Okay, so for the J column in the story I, Pij is nothing but this gravity load which is acting for the column say J in the story I. Okay, so next is this Dyi and Dxij. These are the nothing but the distances from the y and the x from the center of the gravity loading at the floor I. So this x and y distances at the floor I from the center of this column. So it is dxij, d and dyij. Now one more term that is present here is Ri. Ri is nothing but the radius of inertia of the total load, that is Pi, about the center. So about the center Pi, what is the radius of the inertia Ri? That is given as Ri is nothing but the radius of that inertia of the load Pi about the center. So when we have two negative values of A or I, the column is assigned a torsion. So in addition to this shear, that is the areas A or the inertia I, then one more is the torsional constant, which is found out by Ji is equal to minus pi ri square upon g. So this is the value of the constant, how we find torsion constant, and these are the values how you find the shear areas and if area is not there, you can go for inertia of the columns. Now if the computer analysis, it does not allow the specification of the torsion constant for the beam element. Suppose you have the beam element and the computer does not allow for the specification of the torsion constant, then in that case what we do is we split the negative stiffness of the column into two half. That is, we split this column negative stiffness whatever is there, we split it into half of here one and here one. So it is given here the two half value Fixus column which are equidistance from the center of the total gravity loading at the story either. That is only in case when the torsion constant cannot be placed for the beam element. So the Fixus column will be divided into two half. So if the column is specified as negative shear area column, then the that is shear area values will be equal to half column. So or it will be equal to half of column. So it was minus pi upon g here. It will become minus pi upon 2g. Okay, it will be a of ix is equal to a of iy is equal to minus pi upon 2g. Same way, if it is for the, you are considering the inertia, it will be equal to, that is ix is equal to minus p square hi square upon 24 e, because it is 2 there, so it will become 24. Now these two columns, these are the Fixus column when you're placing, they are at a distance of ai. So this ai value, it is found out as, is given by this equation. That is nothing but the whole root of summation pij dyi square plus d square xij upon pi. So when you substitute these values, you'll be getting what is the equidistance value of these half Fixus columns. Now suppose we have a story floor plan wherein these fixtures columns or the columns, they are not continuous throughout. There is a certain distance there. That distance we represent by the rigid area there. Okay. So now if you have a story to story plan wherein the fixtures columns are not continuous throughout the height of the floor, there is the alteration. So in that, if the position of the center of the gravity loading changes, center of the gravity loading is changing from floor to floor, so the continuity of this fixtures column or the column should be provided by this rigid horizontal rigid beams. You can see here, this is the connecting beam here at each floor level. So this will be for the translation and torsional instability. Thank you.